Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching. This is Mary Taylor, aka the Menopause Rockstar, powered by crystals, oils, and juice. And today I am being partnered by the gorgeous Jolanta, who I've met through yet another networking meeting. We cannot underestimate the power of networking. And there's a little funny story because we were at a networking meeting for rugby. And obviously Jolanta was telling me about what she does, and I'll let her explain that in a moment. And I messaged her afterwards and said, oh, by the way, do you do the Dutch test? And she was like, yes. I was like, hurrah, we need to talk, because those of you that know me, I'm absolutely passionate about supporting women through their menopause. And I've started this Wellbeing Wednesday series where I can showcase and signpost some of the amazing women that I've been meeting. And then it turns out we literally live 5 minutes away from each other. So you never know who you're going to meet or where you're going to meet. So as I say, this is part of my Wellbeing Wednesday series where I get to showcase fabulous women who come into my life, who I know are going to be the right fit for everybody in my community. So without further ado, Jolanta, maybe you'd like to tell us just a little bit about yourself and what you do, and then I can come in with some more questions.
Fantastic. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Mary. And I'm really happy to have been invited here and to join you. And so, hello, everybody. I'm Jolanta. I live very close to Mari. I live with my 6-year-old son, and my mum lives with us with her dog. So how did I get where I am? Ever since I was a little girl, I have wanted to help people with their health, to help them get better. And at the time when I was a teenager and having to choose a career path, I knew I couldn't be a doctor, because at the time I hated the sight of needles. That has since changed, but at that time it was a no-go area for me to study medicine. And I got a summer job at Boots at the age of 16. They placed me on the pharmacy counter, and that basically sealed my destiny for a good few years. And so I studied pharmacy for 4 years at Bradford University, and then had a very successful, wonderful career as a community pharmacist. And I realised after a few years of advising people about various health issues and advising them on supplements and lifestyle recommendations such as sleep, anxiety, I wanted to spend more time with people to really unravel what are the core issues, what's the underlying imbalances. And so I made a choice. I wanted to move away from allopathic medicine and more into holistic medicine, seeing the person seeking help from me as a whole. And so being a bit of a detective, which I absolutely love, you know, digging around, getting to really the core of somebody's health concerns. And that took me, I did a 6-month placement at Wellbeing in Ilkeston, which really expanded my awareness of what holistic medicine is, and increased my knowledge of herbal medicine and some homeopathy as well.
Sorry, I've just got to interrupt. I did not know this, so this is what I love about these opportunities, to just dig a little bit deeper. I've had some amazing days at the Wellbeing Gardens, and I had them all booked in for this year, and obviously, you know, but anyway, I love this, so carry on.
So that really piqued my interest. And then I was also working with some, I lived in Devon at the time. I was working within a pharmacy within an integrative medical centre where there was a lot of alternative therapies. and I was giving talks. So I did a lot of research on fibromyalgia and supported a local fibromyalgia group, and was talking about supplements like magnesium citrate, which is one of my favorites. And the benefits these people were getting was amazing. So that really piqued my interest in supplements that you don't necessarily just get off the shelf in a pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
So that I went into a lot of research into supplementation. But it wasn't really till about 2014 when I had my own health issues that I really discovered nutritional therapy, the benefits of nutritional therapy, and applying the functional medicine model, which is really getting to the root of any health issues. So I was having these perimenopausal symptoms, and then the menopause hit me really hard at quite a young age. And mainstream medicine, I have a great respect for it, and it has its place. So I went to the doctors, they did some bloods, and basically nothing was wrong with me. My thyroid was fine, my follicle stimulating hormone was high, which I expected with transitioning into the menopause. But apart from that, everything was fine. I was given the all clear. So luckily I was in a position to be able to see a private practitioner. And she ordered some functional testing for me. So one of the tests that I had was actually a Dutch test, which showed that I was flatlining on all my hormones, on my estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, my cortisol, the stress hormone, on my melatonin, the sleep hormone. I was so low in vitamin B12, which surprised me because I was a meat eater. And basically the test also highlighted that I was rusting. My cells were rusting, they were aging fairly rapidly. So that gave a really good indication of what was going on. I also had a thyroid panel done, which showed that actually my thyroid was not working properly. And the thing is, on the NHS, the tests they perform, the thyroid, it falls into such a narrow window. And I was sort of on the bottom of the optimal range. So of course I was getting a lot of hypothyroid symptoms. And the blood tests also showed that my body was producing antibodies that were attacking my thyroid. And at the time, I thought I was eating really well. So I was having eggs and avocado and a bit of rocket for breakfast. But I also had a food intolerance test. And that highlighted that my body was not able to cope with egg whites, which was really interesting. And within 3 to 4 weeks of eliminating egg whites, I was still having the egg yolks for breakfast. My debilitating migraines just vanished. So with these tests, I wanted to investigate further, you know, how I could bring my health and my body back into balance. So I did various things, changing my diet. I took some supplements, and within a short space of time, you know, I felt so much better, more energy, this zest for life, which then motivated me to say, okay, I want a platform where I can share this with others, where I can guide others. And that's where I decided to research to study for a nutritional diploma,
Yeah.
which, so that took 4 years. And so I've graduated this month, and thank you. And I just want to share this knowledge with others and really help people to optimize their health, and so they can be in the best health possible, so they can achieve their goals and really enjoy life and have a good quality of life.
And I think that for me is, you know, this is the thing, you know, we're both on exactly the same journey with supporting women, you know, and men, of course, as well, and children. You know, I just have happened to specialise in a particular area, but you know, you can't, if you're looking at somebody holistically, as I always call it, because you're looking at the whole list, you can't not look at the family and their children, because it's all part of their personal environment. But I think you've made some really key points there, and I think, you know, this is the thing. You know, I at a point could have chosen to go down the route that you've gone. I've chosen to go another route, but I've been looking for somebody that I can partner and signpost my people to, because you've made a really key point there, which is you can go and have the test done and they will come back normal, but you feel anything but normal. And again, it's because of the types of tests, it's because of the range, and exactly as you said with your thyroid, if the blood result from your NHS results had been 1 point more that way, then they would have told you that there was a problem with your thyroid. But because there wasn't, and they're working in that, you know, that standard deviation and that bell curve, and, you know, thank goodness you were able to go on, because so many, and I'll talk about women because, as I say, that's my specialist subject, so many, and of course men, are left feeling just like they're going crazy, there's something wrong with them, you know. And when you're told by someone in a white coat, because we know it's the white, you know, everything's fine, you do start thinking, well, is it me? And then I think it's really interesting as well what you said about the eggs, because I used to eat a lot of eggs, but I found recently, because I don't eat as anywhere near what I used to, but if I have, let's say, like a poached egg, I'm so sleepy after I've eaten them. I'm like, I feel knocked out. They literally take all of my energy away. So it would be really interesting to find out what's going on. I can have them like in a cake, or, you know, and things like that. But if I just have like a pure egg. So anyway, it's fascinating. And this is the reason that I wanted, you know, because I do lifestyle and interventions and talks, but there's always, you know, for some women, that's enough. They just need to make some changes, like you said, you know, but then for others, we really need to go that next level. So what actually happens when you have a Dutch test, Jolanta?
Right, so a Dutch test, so that's dried urine test for comprehensive hormones. So basically you get sent a kit to your home address, and there's very detailed instructions, but it's really simple. You just have to pee on some little strips of paper 4 times a day. Sometimes it's 5 times, depending on what's going on. And you just have to be aware that day that you're not drinking lots of fluid, because we don't want to dilute these results. So, and that's it really. You just then parcel them off and send them back to the lab. And the laboratory that I work with, they have a really good turnover. So we get the results within 10 days. And then I will get a 14-page document to then interpret.
Okay.
So for example, I did get some, so you sort of get this document, and it tells you where all the hormones fall in what ranges, if there's any sort of shortfalls, and you get these lovely little diagrams telling you about the different hormones, again, whether it's at a suboptimal range or whether there's too much of a certain hormone or a breakdown product from that hormone. And so, you know, what this does, it can identify hormonal imbalances and some nutritional deficiencies, because it tests about 35 different hormones and their metabolites, their breakdown products. So you've got your sex hormones, you've got your cortisone, the stress hormone, melatonin, the sleep hormone. It's also testing things like vitamin B12, vitamin B6, the happy hormones, dopamine, serotonin. And so it can really, this test, or the results of this test, can really provide some insight into things like menopausal symptoms, PMS, PCOS. If someone's having weight gain for, you know, and we don't know really the reason behind that, mood swings, sleep issues. And it's also useful to use this test as a baseline if a woman is considering HRT, and it's also useful to then monitor someone who is on HRT as well, to see how, you know, how their body is responding to it. So
would you get a full, if you were going to do that with somebody to see whether or not you know, HRT would help, would they then have another full test, or would you just do something specifically looking at certain markers for the sort of review?
So the test that I'm talking about, where I said about the 35 different hormones, and then the B12, B6, and the cortisol and the melatonin, that's called, yeah, a complete Dutch test. But if we were then sort of tracking a person, say a few months down the line, there is one that we can just look at the sex hormones.
All right, okay, yeah.
So we can just narrow it down.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I appreciate maybe a Dutch hormone test isn't within everybody's budget. So they do start at around about £260.
Yeah.
And it's not a standalone test. So somebody would also need a full consultation with myself, because I'm looking at the person as a whole. I need some other information to interpret the test. I'm not just gonna treat the test, not the person.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the things when we were talking, wasn't it, that was, for me, I was really comfortable with that, because I'm looking, you know, I as I say, I will be working with certain women, and we, you know, without the testing and doing lifestyle overviews, and, you know, and I say that knowing that the testing, the Dutch test, is the gold standard. So, you know, for me, that's why it's been like finding the right person to work with and collaborate with, so that I can signpost my clients there, and then they could work with you and get all of the information. And then for me, it's about their choice, because depending on what their needs are, once they've, you know, they've done their interpretation, they might think, right, well, absolutely, Jolanta's who I need to be working with for the next 6 months. Or they might think, that's good, that's great, I can carry on working with Mary because I got it. Because everyone's different, aren't they? You know, and that's why, like in my services, I offer a range. You know, I do a sort of, I don't call it a quick fix, but some people, I offer something called an MOT, and like one of it goes from being 1 hour, because some people just need to sit down and I just need to talk something through, to working with people for 12 weeks. And, you know, and I'm bringing all of that in. So it's really good to know that, you know, for some people, it might be that you go for the gold standard first test,
Mhm.
but then you just maybe have little points throughout where you go back and have something that where you're just maybe looking at something a little bit more specific. So when I come to a consultation, now as you were talking, I thought it'd be really good to do one, and then we could record my consultations, because that, you know, for me, just so people can see and understand, I think that would be interesting for me. What actually happens in my consultation, in anyone's consultation?
Okay, so I always recommend an initial consultation for everybody. And if somebody was going to have a Dutch test, they would have initial consultation, which can range from an hour to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So initially you will get sent a small document so I can get some information, some health concerns, any medications, supplements that somebody's on, and a food diary. So it's usually a 3-day typical food diary. And that just gives me a baseline to work from, to dig a little bit deeper when we actually speak. So during the consultation, there's some information gathering, and then usually I will sort of describe or explain what I feel any underlying issues may be, any underlying imbalances. And then I usually work with the client to put a nutrition plan into place. And that completely, I take into account somebody's taste preferences, somebody's budget as well, and lifestyle. So that may need a supplement program as well, not necessarily. And if I really feel that somebody could benefit from a functional test, for example, Dutch test, or maybe I also do stool analysis, I can test for various vitamins, minerals, food intolerance. So so that's a standard consultation, but I also appreciate that every single client is different. So a little bit like you, Mary, where there are some people that just want a one-off consultation. They want to go home, get on with it, put things into action, and they may never see you again, or they may want to see you in 2 months' time. And I appreciate there are also people that after the first consultation, they want some weekly check-ins, you know, for some support and extra guidance. So I'm very flexible. You know, I offer, you know, whatever the client needs, really.
Yeah.
And just going back to the Dutch testing, so if anybody wanted a Dutch test or felt, you know, that a Dutch test would be appropriate, you know, we'd have an initial consultation. We'd do the Dutch test. I could order it for them, interpret it, and then give them my recommendations. And perhaps that would be all they need from me.
Yeah. And I'm the same. I find that with some clients, they just need that moment to stop the merry-go-round and sort of be the catalyst and carry on. And then for other people, they may find that they've just become so disconnected or so discombobulated, they feel they need more accountability over a longer period of time, just till they can sort of, because, you know, for all of us, I think we're always looking to help release our clients back. You know, it's not that they have to, you want them to be able to think for themselves, and I use the analogy of detective as well. For me, it's always about being your own detective, because that's empowering. So this is one of the joys of working from home. Someone's revving up their motorbike outside, so if you can hear the motorbike on the recording, I do apologize, but we're not in a soundproof office either way. Now, I also sent you a question the other day, because you will work with children as well, won't you? Was that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a young son, and there's been some health issues there, which we've resolved with food. And I understand how difficult it can be to get healthy food into children.
Yeah.
So I am really passionate about and working with children and women as well, various hormonal imbalances, and also for cognition as well, especially in modern times with the
Mm,
rise in Alzheimer's and dementia.
yeah.
So these are particular
Mm.
interests of mine.
What's the youngest you could have a Dutch test? Because again, I've got a few clients with daughters who are either they haven't started their periods or they've got PCOS. Is there an age range at which you can't have the Dutch test, for example, if you really wanted to get into someone's hormonal profile?
Okay, so that's I'd need to assess that on an individual basis,
Mm-hmm.
because there may be another test, again non-invasive.
Yeah, yeah.
There may be another test that could give us a better picture. So
Great.
I'd,
Yeah.
I'd really, it's difficult to make a general statement
So
about
it's
that.
always
I'd really
comes
need to
back,
have.
yeah, comes back to what you said about let's have the initial consultation so that you can ask some clarity questions to really make sure that the client or the potential client's getting exactly what they need rather than what they think based. So like me asking that question there, that's great because it's like, no, there might be, okay, great, there's something else to maybe look at. Okay.
And I offer, if someone isn't sure whether, a test would be appropriate, or whether they want to work with me just as a one-off, you can always contact me for a telephone call and we can talk it through to see how I could help.
Yeah.
And that's free of charge.
Yeah. And again, I know from one of my girlfriends, she contacted you, and because of your network, you were then able to signpost her
That's
to,
right.
someone
Yes.
who was more able. And again, this is never any reflection on us as individuals, isn't it? Because I think that's the thing. This is why I love doing this Wellbeing Wednesday, is we can't be the experts or the specialists in every subject and every area.
Absolutely.
So to being able to refer people on, for me, is really, I think, is actually offering even better service, to the people involved. So if people wanted to get a hold of you or get this free initial consultation, where can we find you?
So you can find me on Facebook at The Holistic Pharmacist. That's my business name. I can put a link.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
On there is my telephone number. You can contact me by email. I am going to have a website, but it's being built at the moment, which will just give a lot more information as to what I do. So via Facebook would be the initial point of contact for now.
So what I'll do for anybody listening is we will put the link on here. Now this video will be going into my newsletter, into my Facebook groups, and onto YouTube as well. So we'll just put the links so that everybody can find you and make that connection with you. And again, I think one of the things for me as an aromatherapist and as a doTERRA wellness advocate is quite often, you've talked a lot there about cortisol, you've talked about the hormones, there are ways as well that we can dovetail in. So any of my clients, if you find that you're needing to support your stress levels, just to keep it really sort of simple, then we can use essential oils to help calm and soothe. They're not medication or anything like that, but they, again, it's that holistic, it's that, as I say, essentially fabulous. It's using those essential plant compounds to support the body, to bring the body back into balance in whichever way. So for me, there's always that perfect complement of looking at, yes, we need to look at the foods that we're eating, we need to look at how we're moving, rest-based living, reducing our toxic load. So again, when we're looking at how to reduce toxic load, starting to use more natural skincare products, cleaning materials, all of those things, which for a lot of people they don't recognize, can be having a huge impact on how their liver's functioning, and that, you know, and that whole detoxification pathway. So there's lovely ways that, you know, it can all dovetail into each other. And that's how I started. You know, I started doing the diet, and then my body responded in a positive way. So then I started doing the cleaning up my skincare after I'd cleaned up my diet. And then I started looking at my cleaning material, and, you know, and it just, that latest, so there's no overwhelm, because the last thing we want to be doing as well, isn't it, is overwhelming somebody and they feel like they've got to change their whole world. And you've mentioned quite a few times looking at someone's personal environment, their circumstances, their budget, all those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Fantastic. So thank you so much. I think you know, we need to do another one again and maybe go a little bit more in detail with the Dutch test and stuff, because I just find it so fascinating. And again, as somebody, a bit like you said, I'd love to have the test done, because you think you're doing everything right, but wouldn't it be really interesting to get a deep dive and just go, oh, you know, particularly I think as well, as we get older, and getting older is a privilege, and like you said, we don't want to be rusting. We can have an impact on our aging process, but we definitely want to be getting older, because it means we've got another day to get things right and enjoy our lives. Is just, things change. Like I say, I used to be able to eat 6 eggs a day. Now I notice I'm literally falling. So that would be really interesting to get in and have a deep dive. So, well, with it being Wellbeing Wednesday, and you might be watching this on a Tuesday, Thursday or Friday, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so mumuch, Jolanta, the holistic.
Thank you.
I love that. So I've got you know, the holistic pharmacist. I also know an essential pharmacist. So, you know, I love the fact as well that there can be that nice understanding of allopathic and, you know, alternative or complementary medicines as well. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And I look forward to working with you again in the future.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mari.
You're really welcome.
Okay.